All right, good afternoon and welcome to the TxDOTCONNECT session of Short Course. We appreciate everybody joining us this afternoon. We have a rivetingly exciting agenda for you. And with me today, I have Teresa Bannock, our functional lead, Stacy Worsham, our technical lead, and Ben McCulloch, who is our reporting lead. All right, so the first thing that we are going to talk about is the current functionality of TxDOTCONNECT that we have recently deployed, and then our upcoming functionality with some exciting demos that many of our subject matter experts have participated in, as well as our future functionality and our partnership with Exhibition. And then, of course, all throughout the presentation today, we'll have opportunities for question and answer. Quick safety message. I talked to a number of people who are going to be in transit for this virtual session. I encouraged you to join us, so please ensure that you are on Bluetooth or on someone else's phone in your car and are not trying to listen to this and drive at the same time while holding your device. All right, next slide. A quick reminder for those of you who might be new to TxDOTCONNECT, the functions that this application is delivering to the agency are in support of our transportation project lifecycle. That includes program and portfolio management, project management, letting management, which we'll talk about quite a bit today, and right-of-way and utilities. Next slide. All right, so our long-term benefits. We have quite a few benefits that we've been working towards over the past 5 years of this project. I know it seems like quite a long time. So I am going to start over on the left-hand side with data-driven decision-making. And that is highly important to us, bringing all of that same data into one application and providing that reporting on that information. And Ben is going to talk to you about one of our next steps in that reporting effort. TxDOTCONNECT is one system to manage our project and portfolio information. We'll talk a little bit about the systems that we've been able to combine project information on here in just a minute. And it is a simple interface that is web-friendly versus the mainframe systems where we were using a lot of abbreviations and codes. And you almost had to learn a new mainframe language in order to use the system. We have reduced some data double entry, and we've got more that we can attack here in the near future. Along with reduction in paperwork, bringing forms that used to be processed on paper and emailed back and forth for signatures into TxDOTCONNECT and now being able to trace those approvals, along with being able to enable our reporting functions. Our next slide. All right, so let's talk about the functionality that we have delivered. We have had 5 major releases. A couple of them were divided into other releases. And in those releases, we've brought together lots of project information from construction projects to the maintenance projects, along with the deployment of right-of-way. And across our construction and maintenance projects, we delivered the engineer's estimate so that all of the engineer's estimates that are being built in support of these projects are being built in TxDOTCONNECT. In our 3rd release, we introduced the Unified Transportation Program, and actually the FY 2022 Unified Transportation Program was developed through TxDOTCONNECT. We've also included, sorry, things are a little far away from me. I'm gonna pull this forward, everybody. Our estimated, anyway, we'll go on to release 4. So we talked about our maintenance projects. We also at that time brought in our self-service analytics, which was supporting our reporting efforts. And most recently, we've had our release 5, where we deployed feasibility studies, alternative delivery, major projects, and added on the UTP subcategories. Next slide. All right, so now we're going to talk about where we have brought all this data in from these different systems. As we mentioned, we brought in projects from both DCIS, over 130,000 projects, along with more than 30,000 projects in CMCS. So now in TxDOTCONNECT, there's over 180,000 projects with the new projects that have been built. We also brought in data associated to those projects from ECOS, which helps us to define our major projects. And there's more than 20,000 projects that were in ECOS that we migrated that information, along with most recently bringing in ADOR information, which is in support of our alternative delivery projects. And so all of this information has been combined into TxDOTCONNECT under the one project or project ID or control section job number that it was associated with. So in addition to the project information, we migrated over 90,000 engineers' estimates from DCIS when we were in our second release. In that, there was more than 250,000 bid items that were included. Think about that, 250,000 pieces of data in support of those 90,000 engineers' estimates. Almost 5,000 PLARS requests were migrated. That would be your letting schedule modification forms that were brought into TxDOTCONNECT. And then we brought over a substantial amount of data from ROIS, which was the system supporting right-of-way and utilities, with more than 50,000 parcels associated to the 133,000 projects. And more than 28,000 organizations were brought over to support those projects. And we brought over more than 230,000 payments that were made to those organizations. So quite a bit of data has been migrated from many different systems, now creating a database that allows you to build reports using all of that data and bringing it together. All right, our next slide. So let's now look at some of the functionality that we have recently deployed. And I believe we will begin with our alternative delivery demonstration. And I do want.
Hello, my name is Catherine Michaka. I'll be demonstrating the new alternative delivery functionality today in TxDOTCONNECT. Here we have Grady Mapes from the Houston district, who has a great deal of experience working with alternative delivery projects. Grady, would you like to say hi?
Sure. Good morning, Kat. I appreciate you letting me join you here in the explanation.
Yeah, we love to have you here, and we're glad that you can join us today. All your input, all your comments are definitely appreciated. During today's demo, we're actually going to walk you through the new updates, the functionality of managing an alternative delivery project, as well as the conversion of the project. Also going to be diving into updating details specific to alternative delivery and viewing the location page and, of course, managing those milestones. So let's go ahead and dive in. Since we already know our project ID that we want to convert, we're going to go ahead and start off on that project details page. If we don't already have our controlling project ID open, you can simply click into your controlling project ID here, and it'll open right up for you. So first off, since we're on a construction project, you'll notice that we have construction-related fields on our drop-down fields. Many of these fields are going to change as we convert them. So let's go ahead and turn this into an alternative delivery project. Once we click that alternative delivery, you will get a notification stating that basically all those fields are going to change, and you're going to lose some details that are unnecessary. So now that we have changed our construction project into an alternative delivery project, you'll notice some of these fields have changed into alternative delivery related fields and options. Since we're on this page, I'm going to go ahead and scroll down to our project details page. But the one I'd like to point out is your operations and maintenance description box, or a few fields I'd like to point out. Actually, we're going to go ahead and scroll down to our project identifiers section. So there's a number of fields that we were able to update. As you can see, we have our ADOR ID, our federal project number, our state project number field, but the new ones that I'd like to point out is your tolling authority name, your regional mobility authority name, as well as your regional mobility authority and statutory authority. Now, if our project does involve a toll, you can click yes, no, potential, but if we do click yes, you will get that notification saying, let's go ahead and provide that authority name as well. Same for your regional mobility. If we do have one involved, it will pop up with the same notification. So we have a number of really great fields here, new updates, more details we can add to this project. So right off the bat, Grady, what do you think of these overall updates?
I think this makes it much simpler in many ways. These projects are complex. There are a lot of details with them. And so this is a screen that will help keep information current and readily available. I know in the Houston area, we have several different tolling authorities. And so this will be a way for us to assign a different tolling authority to a particular project and help us keep up to date on which one is related to which project. So good to see, good information and easily available.
That's great to hear. We're always glad to hear that it's going to be a lot more user-friendly for our end users, because ultimately all these updates were catered to you guys, so that brings a lot of joy for us. But now I'd like to jump back to our left-hand navigation panel. So let me go ahead and jump into our procurement page. Now let's go ahead and roll over into our procurement details. So here we have our estimated award date, estimated fiscal year, red let, state letter of authority, as well as let type. And of course, some of these fields are populated with information that is previously input into our project details page. And of course, you have your user entry fields for your ready to let, as well as your state letter of authority. Rolling on a little further down, there's also some new features I'd like to show you in the contract summary page. So we now have your contract summary page where you have a little bit more visibility. You have your executed contract amount. You can view that on that upper right-hand corner. And if you'd like to add an organization to your contract summary, you can do so by simply clicking on that link, selecting an organization, and it'll add it for you right there in that table. And of course, if you accidentally add an organization you don't need, you can simply remove that organization by clicking that red X. A little further down, we have a few more user entry details that you can add, your type of work, your maintenance delivery type dropdown, or you have a few selections to choose from as well. And if you click your DBE or your hub goal, you'll get a pop-up notification, or you'll get a little extra field to fill in to add in those percentages. Same for your fields below in your contract limits to and from, as well as your contract preservation and mobility percentages. So that sums up our procurement page. Ultimately, my favorite page is your location page. The location page is a lot more interactive, and we have a lot of features to demonstrate here. So one thing you'll notice right off the bat is you'll see that we have some projects appearing here on our location map. Another thing I'd also like to point out, you do want to pay attention to your little polyline and draw point icons here, because this allows us to not only make edits to our controlling project ID, but it'll let us know that you can't make any edits or any changes to subordinate projects that we may have selected. So if you do want to make any changes, just make sure that you are on that particular page and you have that open. So scrolling down to our projects table, this is where we kind of have control over most things on that location map, as well as all the details below. You have everything from your map view to your controlling project ID and project name details. Now, if I want to see a second or third project, I can go ahead and highlight another row, and that will actually pop up on that location map, show me those assets, show me those details, and also show me all that project information below if we scroll down. It'll give me the location data, the payment plan control section data. So all of that is populated for you when you select that project on the projects table. This is my favorite page. So what do you think about this, Grady? What do you think about being able to see multiple projects on a centralized location, just having a little bit more interactivity?
I think the map function is great. It's going to allow people to be able to see interactions between projects, proximity, maybe provides a better visual of the project for anybody who needs to see a map. It orients them to the location, and it's going to be much clearer, I think, to be able to look at this and understand exactly where your project is and maybe bring out some things that you may need to consider as part of the project. So very helpful to be able to see this on a map and associated with other projects, and just the general location around the area. So very good. I like to see this.
That's great to hear. So now that we've covered the location page, I'd like to go back to the left-hand navigation panel and just show you where to scroll for our new milestone page. And you'll actually find that milestone page right under your project management grouping. So let's go ahead and click into that. So now that we've landed on our milestones page, there's actually a number of great features to call out here. First thing is your procurement tab, your design and construction tab, as well as your operations and maintenance. So all the features that you can move around and point out and add here, you can do the same to your design and construction as well as your operation and maintenance tab. So one thing I'd like to show you is, say you don't like the placement of these milestones. Maybe you want to move them around. You actually can do so by, I'm going to actually call them box of dots. So you can move those around as you need to. So that's a really neat feature. And this is actually handy because if we want to add a milestone or multiple milestones, we can do so by clicking on your milestone link on that right-hand corner. Select any of the milestones we have here. This pop-up window will pop up with all the same milestones that you see listed. So let's go ahead and select 2, press done. And those milestones that we just added will pop up at the very bottom of our listing. The little red X is a clear indicator that these are the ones that we added. And we know that because we actually cannot delete default milestones. And it'll let you know as you hover over any of these X's, default milestones cannot be removed. So let's go ahead and move these around. Say I want to move them a little further up, we can do so. Additionally, if I want to add comments, I can add any comments to any of these milestones. The really great thing about this is you're no longer limited. You can add multiple milestones and you can do the same for any of these tabs here. So overall, with your milestones page, what do you think of these updates?
I think this is good. These projects are multiple years and they can change as the project develops. I think this will allow us to be able to track milestones as we go, and for new people who come into the project, they can always reference this to see how the project developed and understand maybe milestones that have happened in the past and orient themselves to the project. So very easy, it seems, to be able to track as a project develops. So I think it's going to be very helpful.
It's good to hear. So glad these are very user-friendly features and new updates that we have for you guys. Of course, if you ever have any questions, you can always navigate to our website. You can always email us anytime there's any issues, but we will have help pages available and we will have those resources available. But for now, that concludes our presentation. We were able to go through the location page, all those updates, all those features, and we were able to dabble in that projects table and see all the details populate as you click through the map and those associated projects. We were also able to dive into your project's details page, your identifiers section, as well as your procurement page. Thank you so much for giving us your feedback. We appreciate your time.
All right, welcome back. Thank you, Kate and Grady Mapes from our Houston district for a great demonstration of our alternative delivery functionality. We do have a question, so if you have any questions, please type them into the Q&A section. We did have one come through while the video was on. I'm going to ask Teresa to address this. Do we have fields for RFP, request for proposal, RFQ, request for quote, or SOQ? Is it a Q?
I'm going Q.
Yeah, we got to get our glasses
Q,
out here.
SOQ. Q,
Yep, SOQ, et cetera,
et cetera.
et cetera.
Yes, we do. The milestone left-hand navigation was introduced with release 5.1, so that information resides there for ultimate delivery projects, and milestones will be released for construction projects this coming winter.
All right, great. Thank you, Teresa. All right, again, if you have any other questions, please just enter them into the Q&A. We do have another video now that will be for our major projects functionality. And this time we have Kate from our, Ray, this time we have Kate from our OCM team along with Liz Bullock, who was previously in the Waco district and is now part of the PFD division, who are going to demonstrate the major projects for us. Okay, Ray, now hit it.
Hi, my name is Kate Daster, and I will be demonstrating the new major projects functionality today in TxDOTCONNECT. And here with us, we have our friend Liz Bullock from the PFD division. Hi, Liz.
Hi, Kate. I'm a transportation engineer with PFD.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here with us today. During this demo, we're going to be showing you guys how to navigate through the new major projects page in TxDOTCONNECT, which was designed to provide a centralized place for tracking the review and approval of oversight documents that are required to keep a major project on track. The major projects page can be found in the Programs section in the left-hand navigation menu. We'll start here up at the top of the page with the Major Project Details section. Starting on the left-hand side, we've got our total major project cost field. The amount in this field is auto-populated, and we'll touch on where this amount actually is coming from in just a second when we scroll down. Then, next over, you'll see the major project types checkboxes. First, we've got checkboxes for Special Experimental Project 16, or SEP 16, and Texas Division Involved Project, or TxDIP, which was formerly known as PODI, both of which you can manually check. So for this project, we've got SEP 16 checked. Then next over, you'll see Major Project and Other Project checkboxes. These will be automatically checked based on rules that are built into TxDOTCONNECT, which are dependent on the amount in that total major project cost field. And then moving on to the last field in this section, we have the major project completion date, which you can use to indicate when a major project has reached its final completion. Right off of the bat, Liz, just seeing this first section, what do you think about this major project details section and the information that it's going to provide for us right up front?
I totally love seeing the total major project cost in one place. I mean, that is so great to just clearly see that identified for our major projects. And then it's also really great to see how the major project is identified and categorized in one place. This is great to see this information.
Absolutely. I'm so glad. Yeah, that automation is super helpful with those checkboxes as well. All right, now we'll move down the page to the Environmental Association section. This section displays information pulled from the Texas Environmental Compliance Oversight System, also known as ECOS, and the estimated cost page in TxDOTCONNECT for all environmental associated projects. Down at the bottom, TxDOTCONNECT calculates the total major project cost by adding together all of the values in this last column here, and then that total is pulled up to the major project details section, like I just referenced a moment ago. Liz, I know previously some of this information was exclusively found in ECOS. What value is this new Environmental Association section in TxDOTCONNECT going to bring for you?
A lot of saved time. This is a great enhancement for the major project page. And it's just awesome, you know, like when you started off at the beginning, it's pulling it's a centralized place to see all of the data. So we, at major projects or looking at major projects, we can just go here and we can see all of the projects that are associated in ECOS for the environmental clearance and easily see what's there and what's not without us having to leave TxDOTCONNECT.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be really nice not to have to switch back and forth between systems to get what you need there. Okay, so now we're going to transition to walking through the 4 remaining sections on this page, which are the plan and review sections, sort of the meat and potatoes, if you will, of the major projects page. This is where you'll be able to track the progress on the steps required to submit various oversight documents to the Federal Highway Administration, or the FHWA, for review and approval. So let's take a look first, Project Management Plan section. What are the steps involved in getting that plan submitted? Well, they're all listed out in the step column of this table. For each step in the process, you'll be able to manually enter the date it was started or submitted, the date it's estimated to be complete, and then the actual completion date. So it looks like for this example, this plan has already made it pretty far along in the process. Once the plan has made it through all of these steps and you're ready to mark it as approved/on file, you will go ahead and select your date. So I will select one from this date picker field. And then I'm going to go up and save the project. There we go. All right. Now, upon save, you'll notice that this plus update button has been enabled. When I click this, all of the previous information entered in this section will clear out, and the current approved/on file date will be captured and displayed in the approval history section below, so that I'll be able to track the steps for review and approval all over again. The reason that this functionality is so neat is that major projects are quite a big lift and they often happen over time. So odds are at some point we may need to tweak or update the project management plan as new information surfaces. And this is a really simple way to do that. So I'll go ahead and click plus update and we can watch this functionality in action. And there you have it. The section cleared out and the last approval date that was originally here has now been captured down below so that we can start the process over again. Liz, I know when we were talking through this page earlier, you mentioned how much you like the ability to add comments here. How does this comments functionality help you as you work through sections like this?
Those little comments are my favorite addition to TxDOTCONNECT as it's evolved. The reason I like it is because, projects change and there's a lot of different things that happen to projects. And so you can add comments to document what's going on. And then you just have to go to the little comment box to refresh yourself on what's been going on with this project. What am I waiting on? Why are we doing a refresh? I mean, all kinds of different things. And it's just right there in the comment section, the history of edits on this project. It's great.
Totally. Yeah, that's so helpful. The remainder of sections on this page actually work largely the same way. So we've got the same functionality for tracking that cost estimate review report through the review and approval process with its own set of unique steps listed out here. And the same rings true as well for the initial financial plan seen here right below. But then lastly, we have our financial plan annual update section. Same functionality as far as tracking goes. However, what distinguishes this one from the rest are these cycle options for when the annual update will actually occur. So you can select by fiscal year and choose your fiscal year from the dropdown, or you can select by other and set a custom cycle if the cycle that you want doesn't fit into that traditional fiscal year kind of cookie cutter piece. So with that, we reach the bottom of our major projects page. So Liz, I'm curious now, after seeing these plan and review sections work and comparing it to the processes that you use to keep track of things now, what do you think about this new major projects page overall?
It's really a huge benefit to major projects. As a TxDOTCONNECT user from the beginning of TxDOTCONNECT, it's really exciting to see another piece of functionality added to TxDOTCONNECT. TxDOT does a lot of different projects, and it's great to see another piece of that functionality added to what we do at TxDOT and continuing to reduce duplication of our efforts and streamlining processes and continuing with that key piece of having all the information we need in one place. I'm excited.
Good. I'm so glad. I definitely agree with you. I think a huge value add is definitely the interconnectedness of that environmental association information. And then also just being able to keep track of where these things are and all the moving parts that are involved in such a dynamic page is really going to be a game changer. So I am so glad that you feel that way too. With that said, Liz, I do want to thank you so much for joining us here today and providing your insight on the new major projects page. And thanks to all of you for attending our demonstration.
Thanks, Kate.
All right, welcome back. Thank you to Kate and Liz for walking us through the major projects functionality. We do have a few more questions that have come through. The first one is TxDOTCONNECT only for TxDOT staff or direct employees? And the answer is that TxDOTCONNECT is for all users who need access to it, which includes staff, consultants, metropolitan planning organizations, and some other state agencies that we've granted access to. So if you are someone that needs access to TxDOTCONNECT, or you think you need access to TxDOTCONNECT, please check with your supervisor to see what type of access you would need, and you submit the proper ticket through ServiceNow. We have a second question, which I'm going to put my glasses on for. It says, as a subcontractor, one of the challenges is having a complete picture of the status of parcels on the project. Are there any plans for subcontractors viewing and inputting updates directly into TxDOTCONNECT? So again, related to contractors or subcontractors, it is up to your TxDOT liaison, specifically here since we're talking about right-of-way. So either in the right-of-way and utilities group, to determine if you are the right person to be accessing TxDOTCONNECT for that information or to enter that information. And there are processes in place for the appropriate people to gain access to TxDOTCONNECT and then be able to edit it even as a consultant. You might have had another question come through. Is it possible to subscribe to notifications on the project show comments updates that are pushed out instead of monitoring comments on the application? So currently we do not send out communications after our different champion meetings or other road shows that are a full summary of the comments. However, we do typically send out a Q&A document that summarizes as many of those questions as possible. And those Q&A documents will also be available on Crossroads. All right, well, let's go to our next video. This video is going to be about the UTP sub-programs or category programs that we've recently launched. It's going to be moderated by Will Boyd. Many of you know him if you've been to a training. He's our training lead for TxDOTCONNECT and has done a fabulous job. And he is joined by Jamie Griffin from the Bridge Division, talking about the Bridge category program.
Hello, everyone. My name is Will Boyd. I am an instructor with the TxDOTCONNECT team. We are going to demonstrate our Unified Transportation Program functionality that's going live on September 20th, which includes new funding category programming. And with us here to talk about that a little bit, we have Jamie Griffin.
Hi there, my name is Jamie Griffin. I'm a project manager in the Bridge Division, and I am happy to be here.
And tell us a little bit about what you do, Jamie.
I work in the bridge management section in the Bridge Division. So we program candidate bridges that are submitted by districts.
Excellent. And so Jamie is here with us today as we talk about this new category programming. I'm going to start out by showing how this works for our district users. Create a program, I just go to my Portfolios and Programs module, click Create Program and Unified Transportation Program. I just need to choose a program range. And keep in mind, I can only create a district or division program for a statewide program that's already been created. Once I do that, though, I've got all this information that's available to me. You see a lot of this already today in TxDOTCONNECT. What's new is that you'll now have the ability to manage separate programs on separate pages, depending on that funding category. So we have Category 6 funding managed on the Bridge program, Category 8 on the Traffic Safety, Category 9 Transportation Alternatives, and a new page we're introducing here that really encompasses multiple funding categories, Categories 2, 4, and 12 that require that commission approval will be visible on my mobility page. Now, since we have Jamie Griffin in the Bridge section here today, we're going to look at the Bridge program. As I scroll down, I will see my project list that is populated automatically for those projects that have that pending Category 6 funding NBIs or bridges and that have let date, either estimated or approved, that falls within this program. As a district user, I may just want to open up my funding drawer by expanding out my project ID and look at all of these categories of funding that are visible for me. Now, Jamie, you've expressed before that you think it's really important and valuable that our districts and you in the Bridge Division will have visibility not only just to Category 6 funding, but to all of those categories. Why is that so important?
Well, we're all familiar with funding limitations, but as we move forward, it's going to be important for us to be able to partner with districts and with other categories of funding for bridge projects. And so it's going to be really great to see all of the different categories that might be applied to any particular project to give us an idea of how much these other categories are contributing and what that difference is that the district would like to see from Category 6.
That's great stuff. I think one of the things that helps here as well, and this is going to come into play as we move into our statewide program, I have a lot of other data about this program, about this project. Not only is that going to be visible to my district users, it's going to be visible to our division reviewers, our programmers, just like Jamie.
Yeah, this is going to be just fantastic. Again, Category 6 is a statewide program focused on improving bridge conditions and bridge condition scores. So having that inspection data, that condition data, is absolutely critical to our programming. Right now, the way our programming works is the districts need to take a look at the condition of their bridges, either using inspection reports or by going into the bridge inspection database. The great thing about having it all right here in this one spot is that instead of having to go back and forth between these different data sources, TxDOTCONNECT has actually brought all of that inspection data into the programming function so that we can see it all in the same place at the same time, and everybody can be working from the same data set without as much cross-referencing.
Really valuable stuff. I appreciate that, Jamie. I'm ready to submit this for review by people just like Jamie. What I need to do is just come up here, click Program Review, switch that to statewide, and click Save Program. And that will make this not only visible, but reviewable. Let's take a look at how that works. We're going to switch hats again. Each of the different program reviewers will have their own page where they can view all of the submissions. So if I am the bridge program reviewer, I can see my funding request summary where it breaks it down not only by category, but by year and by subprogram. And as I scroll down, I have my candidate project list. Now, when it comes to completing your review, there are actually a couple of different ways that we can do this. I can review each individual project, or in this case, individual bridge, pop open this funding drawer and see the funding that is being requested. And I can choose to accept and review, or if I decide I shouldn't really accept this, I can leave that blank and add some kind of a dialogue, some sort of an explanation of why I'm not accepting this. In these comment boxes here, and those little bubbles turn blue as you enter information there. That will then be visible to them once you change the status of that program review back to the district and click Save. So you can bounce this back and forth right here in TxDOTCONNECT and create that conversation between the program reviewer and the submitter. Jamie, I know that previously you were trying to manage all of this through meetings and emails. How does this help simplify things?
Well, having less of that cross-referencing is going to save us a lot of time. Right now, like you said, we're going through several different meetings, different programs, different lists and spreadsheets, and trying to keep all of that information consistent. And of course, that requires a whole lot of time and meetings and exchanges of information to try and keep it that way. And again, when you have that many different data sources, you have a lot of opportunity for error. And so it's going to take a lot of the uncertainty out of it, but also save us, districts and divisions, a lot of time.
That is great. And we always say one of our little catchphrases is it's not intended to replace that conversation, but it is absolutely intended to help and support that conversation. So as a reviewer, I can mark these as accepted at the individual project level, but there is another way that I can do this. I can use my subprogram filter here to choose just an individual subprogram here check boxes next to the projects that they want to go ahead and accept. As they check those boxes down here in the candidate project list, TxDOTCONNECT tallies up the total proposed amount for that, and it shows you how many projects you have selected. And if you are ready to, you can just click Mark as Reviewed, and TxDOTCONNECT will mark all of those projects as accepted and reviewed. That makes things a lot simpler and easier to manage at the sub-program level. I know this is especially valuable for some programs where they try to divide and conquer. But I know, Jamie, for you in the bridge division, sometimes you don't divide things up amongst different people, but does this still help you being able to manage at the sub-program level?
Absolutely. This is actually going to be critical to our programming. While we don't necessarily divide each program out amongst the different project managers, we do form our budgets based on the sub-program. So for example, the Bridge Maintenance Improvement Program has its own budget that is broken out from the overall allocation. And so being able to look at each of these sub-programs individually is going to just, like I said, be absolutely critical to our programming efforts.
I'm so glad. I think anything that we can do to make this rather complex but strategically important process simpler, the better we can plan. And we can only do that by talking to stakeholders like yourself. Excellent stuff. Once they've completed their review of all of the projects that have been submitted, when they're ready to program the entire bridge category, they come up to the top here, they toggle this little button here, and I'm now able to click that button and program the overall statewide bridge program. Each of these programs may manage against their own annual cycle, but also all of these category programs roll up to the annual Unified Transportation Program. So whenever I now leave my just individual bridge program page and go to my statewide UTP program, this page includes all of the funding for all of the different categories across all 10 years of the annual program. And this is where we'll be able to see things like grouping and ranking, which is already taking place in TxDOTCONNECT today. As each of those individual categories get programmed, these boxes at the top of the statewide UTP get checked. And that tells our UTP coordinators in the TPP division that all of those different programs have been reviewed and approved as part of the annual cycle for UTP. And so our UTP coordinators are then able to program the overall statewide UTP. So that is just a quick glimpse and sneak peek of how the UTP functionality and these individual category programs works in TxDOTCONNECT. Jamie, I know you've been working alongside our team as our developers have been working on this, our product owners and everyone. Anything else that you'd like to share?
I'm really looking forward to getting into TxDOTCONNECT and getting started with programming. It's going to be so beneficial to both the districts and the divisions to have all the information we need in one spot, to have one source of information that we can all look at to make sure that our financial records and our programming records are all in agreement. I really think this is going to be a great time saver for both districts and divisions. So I'm really looking forward to working with it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jamie. And thank you all for listening. Hope you enjoyed this sneak peek of the UTP functionality. Have a great day.
Will and Jamie for that excellent demonstration of the UTP category programming that we've recently launched in TxDOTCONNECT. We have received a couple more questions, so we'll go ahead and answer those now. So are there any additional project parcel viewers that are fed by TxDOTCONNECT, which subcontractors can use for project parcel updates? Stacy, you want to take that question?
Yes. The information as it's uploaded into TxDOTCONNECT and into our GIS databases is also fed into other GIS products that TxDOT has information stored in, such as the Real Property Asset Map, RPAM. That RPAM is available out from TxDOT.gov. And so if the information about that parcel is publicly viewable or available or appropriate, then you will see that parcel being presented on RPAM, the Real Property Asset Map. eminent domain, once it's completed and finalized by the commission, then yes, you'll see those start showing up on RPAM as well as internal to TxDOTCONNECT. So if it's appropriate for public access, it will also be available on the real property asset map as well as internally to TxDOTCONNECT.
Okay, great. Thank you, Stacy. All right, our next question is, on a local government project, I witnessed an event where TxDOTCONNECT information differed from the approved AFA or advanced funding agreement documents. The AFAs drive the project, so it was difficult to make changes to the information in TxDOTCONNECT. So the AFA functionality on the local government page is new functionality within TxDOTCONNECT. The data being entered there is manually being entered by end users in the districts. We are working very closely with John Jameson and the local government team, which are also part of Transportation Programs Division, along with the districts to ensure that that information is updated in the next 30 days in order to meet an audit requirement. So if you are somebody that knows where the information is not accurate in TxDOTCONNECT, I would encourage you to reach out to your planning organization within your district so that they can correct the information and update it. If there are other challenges within that team for updating the information, please submit a ServiceNow ticket so that we can address it immediately, because there's an audit requirement that we're working towards correcting in the next 30 days. We did have one more question come in. So will additional information be added to this TxDOTCONNECT section for bridge programs, specifically the bridge condition score? Teresa, would you love to take that question?
Oh, I would. So we're talking about the local government sections?
No,
just in
general, we switched questions.
Okay.
Where if our TxDOTCONNECT section on bridge programs will be updated with the bridge condition score.
So I believe the bridge condition score is currently on our project location page. If the question is, can that be added to the bridge subprogram for category program for the UTP? That is definitely something that we can look at. If that's not already there, we can get that added to the UTP information for the bridge program.
All right, great, thank you. All right, well, keep the questions coming. We definitely appreciate that and appreciate everyone being engaged in today's presentation. We are now going to switch gears and talk about what is coming up with TxDOTCONNECT. So we did talk about releases 1 through 5, which we've deployed up until September of this year. And we have 3 more big releases or major releases ahead of us. You're going to see the same information listed here on release 6 and release 7 in the first 3 boxes, which includes the proposal build, letting management, and pre and post letting activities. So that's what we want to talk about over these next couple of slides. The reason that they're listed twice and in 2 different colors is because we're going to run parallel testing with the production environment coming out of release 6 for this functionality before we actually turn the functionality on in production in release 7. So I want everyone to continue to breathe as we walk through these next couple of slides that talk about what that means to you and what it means for the project team. So they look very calm right now because they've been working with me on this plan. All right, but we've got a heavy lift over the next 9 months ahead of us, and it's real important that you, as the subject matter experts and as the business users of TxDOTCONNECT, understand what we have ahead of us, because we're all in this together. There is other functionality that we're going to be working to deploy, such as project management plans. And got to put the glasses on again. Our project costs and bringing milestones to our construction projects. We also have a lot of work we're going to be doing around DBE goals to help civil rights out and help calculate those goals and make that easier for them. And then as our final release now, we are planning to release STIP and TIP functionality. That was delayed because we did have to redirect a few people who were working on the STIP and TIP functionality to help us with the letting functionality over the next 9 months. But we will pick up those requirements for STIP and TIP functionality after the first of the year. All right, Ray, let's go to the next slide. So let's talk a little bit about what we actually mean when we talk about proposal build, letting management, and pre and post letting activities. For a proposal build, it is the proposal review process that you're going through today. We're having to build those proposals, requesting them through Roscoe. That will be through TxDOTCONNECT in the future. And it is also the publishing of the proposal actually out to the different systems that need it in order for letting to be conducted and for our contractors to know what to bid on, along with the addendum approval process, right? So those changes that we make after the proposal has been published before the project actually lets. Then from a letting management perspective, we are talking about the letting day activities that are performed either in the district for a local let project or by the construction division for statewide let projects. That includes the letting calculations. So we do have a variety of calculations that are used for letting, whether it's low bid or it's A plus B, or when we bring back the additive alternative functionality, which in our new system will be called sequential letting. So there are 3 different calculations that can be used when determining the low bidder or who to award the contract to. Then we have our projects that actually don't require the letting process. And maintenance has been performing what has been referred to as faux letting on those. And so faux letting is going to go away. And we are going to find a way to take those projects from TxDOTCONNECT over to Site Manager without sending them through the letting system, and for them to still be processed correctly. So we'll be streamlining that process. On our pre and post letting activities, we have developed a letting calendar. We know how important that is to many people to be able to look at that calendar in CMCS. So we're not only recreating it, we are adding to it with other key letting information. There's the advertisement of the projects. At the sequencing of the projects, there's the qualified bidders list that has to be identified, along with the post-letting dashboards. And the post-letting dashboards move information after letting to the systems where they're needed. Lastly, I want to talk about letting reports. So today, our letting reports that are on TxDOT.gov are fully dependent on people running those reports and then loading the information up through an antiquated tool. Ben McCulloch and team believe they have come up with a solution on how to update those reports on TxDOT.gov without requiring the manual running of reports or the use of the antiquated tool. So we want to move to the next slide, where Ben's going to talk about the proof of concept that he and his team are working on.
So when I started with TxDOT, I've always thought my job is to help people understand, explore, and use their data to make good decisions. The next step in that process is to help our partners in the construction industry and MPOs and local governments and legislative entities and elected officials and the people of Texas take the data that we provide and sort it and filter it to their needs in an easy, simplified process. The current website has a lot of different web pages, and what we are going to do is build a Tableau dashboard that will take your project information and have a single source of data that provides all of that information. The current process can be out of sync depending on when that data was uploaded to the website. So going forward, there will be a single source of truth to provide that information. You'll be able to look at your projects by your county, by your district, by your type of project. Is it construction or maintenance? And the type of work. Is it a seal coat? Is it a routine maintenance contract? Is it a widened freeway? So with all of that capability, we will now allow people to seamlessly find all of that information that used to take you to 10 different web pages, now in a single dashboard with just a few clicks, and you'll be able to download that data. But we're not stopping there. We are going to provide dashboards for the official and unofficial bid item index, for the bid tabulations, for vendor information, and finally, the approved and enabled bid items, specifications, special provisions. all in simple Tableau dashboards. So look for this, this functionality on TxDOT.gov in winter as we connect you to Texas through data.
Great, thank you, Ben. All right, the other key thing about what Ben is doing is it reduces our dependency on the mainframe system for the data, and it's going to allow us to achieve the goal the agency's been working towards to bring all of the project management and letting management off the mainframe systems. All right, so if we go to the next slide, this is where we're going to talk about what this process means to you over the next 9 months. So the project team has been working with subject matter experts and Exavision, who's a known vendor, and Stacy's going to talk to us just a little bit about Exavision here in a minute, to define all of the requirements that we need for all that functionality that I read to you earlier. That is our focus during the month of October. Our focus in the month of November is to configure that functionality within the systems so that it's ready for us to start testing in December. In December, we want to start running the parallel testing. Parallel testing, again, means that we are going to run side-by-side functionality in a separate environment from production and recreate production, only doing that with the new systems versus the legacy mainframe systems. In December, that will be performed by TxDOTCONNECT project team members so that we can ensure that the functionality is working as expected. It will also be for a subset of the functionality, and we will focus on district-led projects and proposal build for statewide led projects. In January, we're going to build on that and start working with some of the district users and division users to have them sitting side by side with the TxDOTCONNECT team performing these functions. We'll add in the statewide letting functionality as well. Then in February, we'll expand it to even more projects, more users. And in March, we will run our final testing in the parallel side-by-side functionality. And I forgot to mention, we will also be layering in e-contracting with this function, because that's another function that Exavision is going to be able to provide to us. We want to deploy the functionality into production in April, run the two systems, the legacy mainframe system and the TxDOTCONNECT Exavision solution side by side in April, so that we are ready to be on just the TxDOTCONNECT Exavision solution in May. Now, if you didn't hear all of that because you got lost in the very first part about where we started talking about users being involved in the testing, we are going to talk about this over the next couple of months and reiterate it for everyone again and again, because we all have to be involved in this process. The reason that we're using a process like this, where we're building slowly from just the TxDOTCONNECT team and a few users to more and more users, is that this will add to our training ability. Instead of everyone rushing in April to try and learn how this functionality works, you will be coming along with us as the project team, understanding how the functionality works, so that when we get to May and we are running TxDOTCONNECT and Exavision functionality, you're going to be comfortable and ready for that. Of course, we'll still have support here for you. We're not going to just walk away and go, woohoo, our part's done. We will be here. But again, do a pulse check. Want to make sure everyone's breathing, because this is really happening. And this is the proposed plan for it to happen. Is it going to go perfect? Is it going to go 100% smooth? Probably not. Are we going to have some frustrations? Yes, we probably are. But the great thing is that we've come this far as a team, meaning all of the SMEs, the champions, the end users, and the project team as one big team. We've come over the years together to develop TxDOTCONNECT to where it is today. We just got to get it past this last mile. Right, so there's 9 months of involvement. We're gonna set everything up as best as we can for you, so that the process is smooth. But you know, we're here and we will listen to you. So you have to let us know where your pain points are as we walk through the process. I'm sure there's a ton of questions here. So Ray, if you would, I lost my question piece here. If you would go to the next slide, Stacy's prepared to talk about
Yeah, I'm
Exhibition while I
prepared.
figure out where the questions are. Go on, Stacy.
All right, I'm going to use my cheat sheet here because I can't see that far away. But one of the challenges Eric has always made to me in technical enablement of all of these processes is don't want to enter the same information twice. And an event-based processing, what is an event? Hey, I approved something, and that's an event, and it should be able to convey that approval or that action to our other connected systems. And this slide right here is, it's not all of them, but for those involved in the letting processes, this is all of the systems we will have to connect to and pass those events or approvals on to the next system. So you're not doing the processes you're doing today, meaning I've got to go run a report in the mainframe. Then I need to go to another system and do something else and feed those results to yet another system, and then do some balancing and audit back and forth to make sure everything's flowing the way it is today. And then when letting gets here, you've got the exhibition systems themselves that we're balancing against. So we want to do this where the systems are used based on an event and that next action occurs. So this slide here represents a lot of the systems you're already familiar with. We're just going to be integrating them with TxDOTCONNECT. One of our primary technical solutions with ITD is what we call an enterprise service bus. And it's just a mechanism that says, hey, an event happened in TxDOTCONNECT, transport it or bus it over to the next system that needs that information. So again, a lot of these are familiar with, that you're familiar with today. So TxDOTCONNECT, when those events happen, such as, hey, I want to publish a proposal, I want to build that PDF, it will be going over to Exhibition. When it's ready to be published out on the comptrollers, ESBD, you notice that box up there that says ESBD. So when it's approved, it's ready to publish, you indicate that in TxDOTCONNECT. And then these systems will publish and act on those events automatically. So you don't have to go somewhere else. All you have to do is, hey, it did get there. My job is done. Same with OnBase. As documents are being uploaded there, you're going to get those links back in TxDOTCONNECT. The spec app, the specifications themselves, as you know, are being approved in TxDOTCONNECT. We can put a Tableau dashboard on that. We can put another public access viewer out on TxDOT.gov on top of those, that when it's approved, it's going to be visible and available. You don't have to go to another system. We're already interfaced with PeopleSoft, so for payments and those status coming back project-wise, again, to publish a proposal or replace plans online, plans online even. And one of our big partners here, and I'm not going to go to the next slide yet, but you'll see IPD and ICX Web. I'll talk about that in just a minute. And the other systems involved here are, of course, letting storage for the PDF proposals themselves or addenda PDFs. And as you'll see from TxDOTCONNECT, that database is going to flow through Tableau and be able to be published out on, I wish I had a pointer on this thing, TxDOT.gov. Again, replacing multiple business processes to get information published on TxDOT.gov. So again, when that event occurs in TxDOTCONNECT, I've approved it. I have said, yes, publish it. Then that button, that action is going to trigger these events to these other systems that are concerned. So you got like one-stop shopping. So don't want to enter things or do things in two different systems for the same result. Just one place, one-stop shopping. If you'll go to the next slide, please. So I kind of preempted this with IPD Web. I hope everyone knows that we've used Exhibition for our vault. What is the vault? That is where bidders go in and enter the electronic bids. The vault is open on letting day, and that information flows back down to our mainframe systems to complete letting day activities. Get the apparent, notify, recognize the apparent low bidder, and do our bid tabs and post the letting day results out on TxDOT.gov. So I'm excited to say that we're expanding our opportunities with Exavision and taking advantage of their other products, which will also enable a proposal build that's generating those PDFs and being able to publish them out to other places such as TxDOT.gov or even internally. The letting day activities themselves, this one does frighten me, but I'm breathing, Erica.
Okay, great.
So the letting day activities, again, opening that vault, so that's already an Exavision product. So if the information for proposal and engineer estimates are already up there to generate the PDFs and the proposals, then it's already there to do bid tab reporting. And again, enter the paper bids and apparent low bidder. So we're just expanding our opportunities with an existing vendor and enabling those interfaces. Now, not so much more with the mainframe now and with EBS, which Billy Snyder has been involved a lot in helping us discover all these requirements. And once letting day is done, we don't have to do other hoops or other reports to feed them back through Falcon to post for letting day. And again, all that information is in that system. So it's driving us to e-signatures and e-contracting now, where we will be able to route a contract for e-signatures instead of paper being mailed around and getting wet signatures. That's the dream. I'm working to enable it for everybody. Next slide, please. So these key benefits with expanding our opportunities with Exavision, a single system to review the estimates and generate the PDFs. Not just EBS and Falcon and BPS and running pre-let reports and all that, be one-stop shopping again, just to generate the PDF. It's the same information that's going to go into the vault. Users will get a link back. So when that PDF's ready, either the draft or the actual proposal is ready, we're going to have that link available to you in TxDOTCONNECT. And we're also looking to provide that back in that email, a link to click on it, review that draft or that final proposal. Instead of, oh, well, I think I've mapped that to my M drive, and who has that to get out to the FTP site and drill down what's the letting month and all these different places to copy and paste and upload my notes and be all in one system interface. It should be simpler and repeatable. Number 3, the final proposals go from the vault, from the proposal build process to the vault. Today, that is 2 separate distinct processes, and it does allow for a window where somebody could change something right before it gets final approval and goes to the vault. So we're going to reduce that time and reduce that risk to any changes being made as it's going into the vault, not just the original, but also for the addenda as well. The addenda approval workflow. So Joe and Teresa and Robin, that our product owners have been working really hard with our business users in maintenance, construction, and design to design an addenda process, approval process. And once it's approved, those changes will then flow into our systems, again, with Exavision from TxDOTCONNECT through to Exavision to generate that addenda PDF and again, update the vault, all with one event, one approval. And number 5, letting activities will all be performed in one place. So today, you may not be aware that the vault opens, those electronic bids are entered, they're open, and then they flow back down to our mainframe systems. We have a balancing, a reporting that has to go on to make sure everything came back correctly. We may have to retry it a few times. And then the rest of letting is performed in our mainframe systems. So we'll reduce the amount of time just because we don't have those additional interfaces in play and balancing to happen. And the reports will also be in the same place. So once letting day is completed, then we get into number 6. That information is done, it's completed because it's completed in Exavision. I'm done with letting day. And that information will flow down to TxDOTCONNECT. And as you heard Ben say, we'll be able to publish that directly to TxDOT.gov. When it's available in our systems here, it will be available out on TxDOT.gov. Again, reducing the number of interfaces, reducing the risk of failure, a balancing act between all these systems. We're going to reduce the number of systems, reducing the risk, reducing the time to complete letting. Is that all my slides?
Yeah,
I don't get another slide.
you don't get another slide, but that's exciting.
I'm super excited. You don't know how excited I am to get to this point in the project and to reduce all these systems. It's been at least 18 years in the making. So yeah, I'm super excited.
Yes, it's very exciting, very exciting. So we do have another question, and while I'm reading the question, Ray, if you want to go to our introduction slide for our, perfect. All right, so we have a question that says, currently only project managers are allowed to access TxDOTCONNECT. Will there come a day when others, like task leads, are granted access to project information read-only contained in TxDOTCONNECT? So if you are a TxDOT staff member, you can request view-only access. If you don't have a need to edit information in another role, you can have access to view the information in TxDOTCONNECT. If you are a contractor or a consultant who is looking for access to TxDOTCONNECT, then you do need to work through the organization, whether it's right-of-way or it's through the engineering side of the house, where you're wanting to have that information and visibility to that information, and then they will make a decision if that is appropriate or not and process the right ticket to give you that access. So there are processes for people to gain access to TxDOTCONNECT as long as there's a legitimate business need for it.
I want to also say, if you just need the data, you could take TPD 337 and gain access to Tableau self-service analytics. So my team teaches that course, and that will give you access to TxDOTCONNECT data. And you can connect to it through the Tableau server, or if you have a Tableau desktop license, you can connect to the data there as well and generate your own dashboards to answer your team's questions, your district or division's questions, and make it available to others to use.
Yeah, and just to add on, thank you for that additional information. That's for staff.
For staff, that is correct.
Access.
That is for staff.
Okay, great. Thanks, Ben. All right, so we do have one more video for you. It is going to demonstrate the letting calendar in the addendum process, so the addendum table that is being built into TxDOTCONNECT. So Daniel LaPlante, who is one of our trainers as well, many of you may have met him, and Joe Marquardt, who is our product owner for this functionality, are going to demonstrate it for you.
This is a cool feature.
Yeah, these are cool features.
Not the other side.
They're all cool.
Hi there, my name is Daniel LaPlante, and I am here with product owner Joe Marquardt to discuss some of the new functionality being developed for our upcoming winter release. Specifically, we'll be looking at tools that will help support processes around both letting and publishing proposals. Welcome, Joe.
Hi, Daniel. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you here, Joe. So, what is some of the functionality that you're planning on sharing with us today?
Well, we have a lot of functionality coming up in Release 6, but I think what is most exciting is probably the letting calendar and the addendum process. But additionally, we'll have project sequencing, advertisements, and proposal publishing functionality.
Oh, awesome. Okay, well, that all sounds exciting. But let's first start with something you mentioned, the letting calendar. Tell me more about that. What is it for?
I think the letting calendar is a great way for everyone to view what the letting activities are across the TxDOT agency. So the benefit of the letting calendar is that districts can easily and quickly identify when statewide letting events are occurring. Additionally, they can see when their own letting events are occurring, and they can see when other districts are having letting events. This will allow them to visually see when they should be scheduling their letting events.
That's awesome, Joe. So far, I already love how clear and easy it is to see how you're going to be able to keep those things organized. Can you tell me a little bit about how the letting calendar is really going to help users do their work differently in a new way?
I think it's going to allow the agency to communicate over the calendar as to what types of events and when these types of events are happening. Currently, the calendar functionality is focused on statewide letting and district letting, but we're adding in the required pre-bidder conference events as well in the future.
That's terrific. I know one of the primary goals for TxDOTCONNECT as a system altogether was to increase transparency. So I think this is just another way everybody's going to be able to see what they need all in one place. Joe, you also mentioned something called the addendum table. What exactly does that do?
Historically, when we were building out our engineer's estimate, the estimate specifications list is built alongside with the estimate. Now, at some point, the project builds a proposal and the proposal is published. At which point, the estimate table is now locked down for changes. You cannot make changes within this table. What we designed is an addendum estimate table down below. Within the addendum estimate table, you'll be able to enter new items should you want to add them to your engineer's estimate, or you can go to your original estimate table up here, select an item, and copy it to your addendum table. This would allow you to make changes or deletions from your original engineer's estimate. Once you have completed the addendum table, it will pre-populate information into the addendum request form. It will pre-populate your project information, your total net value change on your contract, and auto-decide if you need a DBE or SBE goal reevaluation. That will be submitted into the workflow and processed for the appropriate approvals for your addendum request.
Joe, I love how smooth that looks, especially because I know the entire proposal build can be a complicated process. So anything to help streamline it is an automatic win. Can you tell me a little bit about how this is going to benefit end users who are actually involved in this proposals process?
Yes, this addendum process that we have moved to does two things for the end users that I think are important. One is that it automates a lot of the information so that the end users are not having to constantly re-enter their information in several places. That's annoying. The other thing that it accomplishes is that it's going to guarantee that the items that were included in the addendum request that was approved by the agency actually get built into the addendum. Historically, the mainframe system was very manual, and there was the ability to either omit items or include additional items that were not in the addendum approval, at which point, when those built into addendum documents that were published, the agency would need to take an additional step to make sure that those items got approved. We're eliminating that with this structure.
Excellent. So by tracking and automating some of that process, we eliminate room for those kinds of problematic errors.
Absolutely.
Awesome. I know that was a big part of the goal. Well, you're right, then. These are definitely some exciting developments. I don't think anyone's going to mind that you're making their lives easier. And there we have it, folks. That's just a taste of what TxDOTCONNECT will have to offer for end users involved in publishing proposals and letting. Please stay tuned for more, and please reach out to us at TxDOTCONNECT at TxDOT.gov for more information.
Okay, and we're back. Thank you, Daniel and Joe, for that wonderful demonstration. I hope all of you are as excited as we are about what is coming in the next 9 months and the functionality and granted all the work that we're going to do, but we're going to make it fun. I know we're going to make it fun. We do have a few more questions, so we're going to answer those questions. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to send those through now, because we are at the end of our presentation and this will be our final QA section. So, oh wow, I think they just moved in order on me. Oh no, there we go. All right, so will the design project manager get access to these letting management functionalities such as lowest bidder or proposal, etc.? Teresa.
Yes, ma'am. So yes, the design PMs should have access to, or if they have access to TxDOTCONNECT, they should have at minimum view access to TxDOTCONNECT. So they should be able to see this information. The lowest bidder information is currently already in TxDOTCONNECT in the top navigation menu. If you were to click on letting, there's a page in there called contract inquiry, and that's where the lowest bidder information currently exists in TxDOTCONNECT. So you can see that already. And as we develop out the proposal and the addendum functionality in TxDOTCONNECT, you as a design PM or other roles within the agency will be granted the appropriate access as we begin to roll out that functionality here in the next 9 months or sooner.
Sooner.
Or sooner. All right, thank you, Teresa. Our other question is for e-signatures. I'm assuming this means digital, not image of a signature. Has a vendor been selected for e-signature? This person says they realize it might be early, but if there's any details, so.
I'll take it away. So for e-contracting, we're using the tools built into Exavision's IPD web product, and that's called PandaDocs. So that is what Exavision is already integrated with and using. That's to actually route and get the e-signatures. And I just want to remind everybody, we did have OnBase in there as a future interface. So once those documents are finalized, we do have long-term plans to actually pull that down and store it into OnBase once it's executed.
All right, great. Thank you, Stacy. Do we have any more questions coming through? No, not at this time. All right, as always, you can reach us with TxDOTCONNECT, TxDOTCONNECT at TxDOT.gov to ask any other questions you might have that weren't answered here. If you're one of our champions, we'll be talking about this again in the near future at a champion call. And of course, our SMEs, we look forward to more conversation with you about the functionality. Our event today, it takes a lot of people to put this together. Not only Teresa and Stacy and Ben, thank you for taking the time to be here with me today, but all of our presenters who took the time to create the demonstration videos. They're hugely important to us. And then behind the scenes, there's a number of people that you don't see, such as Deb Morris and Julie Kelly, our entire organizational change management team. And today we had the joy of being here with Ray Joyner from Communications, and just want to appreciate the fact that he helped us through this new technology to bring this meeting to you. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to the next 9 months with you. I hope you enjoy it as much as we're going to.